just to kick it off, this is kind of like the first like quote unquote scheduled sales training that we're going to be doing every Friday here inside of the Automated Coaching Engine chat Telegram channel here. And first off, I just kind of want to start it off with kind of like a refresher into the script that we actually use on the internal side of things when it comes to Automated Coaching Engine itself. Now, the overall frame is definitely like something that you guys want to run off of here as far as like kind of what I have laid out on the screen here. And the 1 through 7, like, you know, steps are what we're going to be diving into in a little bit more detail. I do want to run through this, to be honest with you, as fast as possible, just because I want to make sure that we have some time to kind of jam on individual sales situations that you guys experience yourselves. The one thing about sales is, or closing, whatever you want to call it, I do think it's like very situational, and, you know, we can talk all day long about, you know, how you should, you know, have your script, or how, you know, what type of language you should use. You know, we can talk, like I said, you know, all day long about just different types of things you should be doing in when it comes to sales. But when it comes to actually being in the game, a lot of shit tends to change. And, you know, you might be, you know, weathered a little bit differently based on your comfort. And it's really just kind of like exactly that. It's a thing that you all will get comfortable with as you put in more reps. But, you know, starting out, it can be like a very nerve-wracking thing. So one thing I like to do is, like, you know, if I come into a sales call or a sales situation, and, you know, I'm getting ready to hop on the phone, whether it's a Zoom call or a phone call, and, you know, I might start to notice like my heart start to like racing a little bit more. And I'll just be like, all right, Mike, you know, just calm down. You know, it's nothing crazy. You know, it's just a normal thing. And for whatever reason, like, you know, just, you know, speaking to, you know, new people or other people, myself, you know, things like that will always trigger, even doing shit like this, like, you know, putting myself on camera in front of you guys, you know, even that type of thing, you know, like might kind of like trigger me to get my heart racing a little bit, like I'm getting nervous. And this is stuff that I've done for a very long time, along with sales calls, and I still feel that way. But what I like to do is just, you know, like 5, you know, deep breaths, you know, just big in, you know, fill up the entire chest, and just kind of like reset, like, okay, you know, this is just something that I'm used to doing. I've done this over and over again. There's nothing to be nervous about here. And the biggest thing that I like to attach that nerve with is the outcome of the sale. You know, like most of us are coming into these situations where it's like, fuck, I need to make money. You know, I need to close this deal. And that's almost like absolutely the worst thing that we can do coming into a sales standpoint, just because we start to rely on the outcome of sales. And most of us know, you know, kind of being in this transformational coaching space, that's almost like the number one thing that we should not do when it comes to life, is like be dependent upon the outcome that's coming. Now, it's one thing to have a vision of where we want to go in life, but it's another thing to be completely reliant or dependent on that end goal, what the light at the end of the tunnel. So take that same, you know, kind of framework when it comes into sales. You really should just kind of let every opportunity play itself out, you know, listen to recordings, and, you know, just kind of optimize, see what you can do better, and move on from there. But with that being said, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this in general, just because I want to be able to dive into your guys' individual situations that you guys experience on actual sales calls, and see how we can chop it up on that a little bit more. But with that being said, let's dive into it. So just to kind of like frame it off, I like to, you know, really like focus on like these like 3 words when it comes to, you know, approaching a sales call. Like number 1, like fly with altitude, you know, like an F-18, like be confident in yourself when you come into these sales types of situations. And really, this should be anything that you do in life. Like when you're walking down the road, hey, Bob, what's going on? You know, like be confident about how you carry yourself. And this will trickle on into everything you do. And when you come into these sales situations, it's just another thing. It's not something that you're having to put an act on to get done. Logic is, you know, communicate, you know, articulate yourself with logic, you know, communicate the script or the pitch with logic, and pressure. Apply pressure to get the person on the other side to make the best possible decision that they should make. So if you know that you have the solution to the problem that they're describing, then it is your duty to apply that pressure to that person by flying like an F-18 and in carrying altitude, the confidence into that conversation, but also articulating yourself with logic. So that way, when you come into the pressure situation to get that person to say a yes or no decision, it is the best possible decision that they are making for themselves. And like I said, don't be dependent on the outcome. It is literally a numbers game. Like there's going to be a certain amount of people that come in through your funnel or your pipeline. They will hop on a sales call with you. There's going to be a certain amount of people that convert and a certain amount of people that don't. The best way that I look at it is, if you get if you make, $5,000 off of, let's do $1,000 just for, easy sake of numbers. Let's say you make $1,000 off of every single deal that you make. Now, maybe it takes you 10 calls to close a deal. Now, obviously your closing percentage should be much higher than that, but just like I said, for easy numbers. So for every no you take, you're essentially being paid $100. If you make $1,000 on every sale, every deal that you close, then, and it takes you 10 calls to get that deal, to get that yes, then every no, those 9 no's, you're still getting paid $100. And then that 10th call, that's a yes, it's still just another $100. It just happens to be the person that pays the full paycheck for that period. So I hope that makes sense as far as just kind of like, how you should emotionally and mentally come into a sales situation. And I'm sure you guys might already know this, but, just something that I wanted to recap in general, just because it very much is a numbers game. Now, just to go into, kind of like the sales process here in general, like number one is going to be rapport building, overall, just like getting that person to overall like you. As you've probably heard numerous times, sales in general is, all about building and establishing the like, know, and trust. So number one, is getting that person to like you. You're a foreign object on the other side, especially if you're doing phone calls, there's really no person-to-person interaction. So this could be a little bit harder, but that's why it's very important, because you do want them to be, completely transparent with, who the other person is on the other side. You want to resonate with them. So a lot of times, it's great for us, as, being in a transformational, coaching space, because that's exactly like, we resonate with the person on the other side, and you all can feel this same exact thing. Whereas, somebody else on the other side is mentioning, something that you overall have experienced yourself. And realize that in the report stage of this process, the report building stage of this process, it's likely not going to be about what you're directly talking about, but it's going to be them talking about their family and, what do they do in their hometown, and, what are the activities that they like to do with their family on their free time. It's digging into what they do personally, to make that connection with them on a personal level, show them that you are human on the other side. So, simple questions like, where are you calling in from, or where am I reaching you from? Another thing that I think is like really, really cool as far as like making that connection is if you do a little bit of homework, you pull up on their Instagram or Facebook account, you find a post or something and you're like, hey, I saw you posted about this, or hey, I saw you and you were in Breckenridge with your family last weekend. I love to go to Breckenridge. Just like making that connection with something that is kind of like concrete to their identity that they have already showed out to you. So it shows that you're interested in this person and you did your homework. Another thing here is like trying to get them to laugh. I think this is like one of the big things. Like if you can get the person on the other side to laugh, you've kind of achieved that, part of the like, know, and trust. And like I said, what do you do with your time? What do you do with your family? What adventures do you guys like to take? Do you guys like to have fun? What's your lifestyle like? Find out how you can resonate with that person in those situations. So that's overall step number one, report building. Step number two, the pre-frame. This is really, really, really important. And like I said, I'm not going to read through this word for word. I'll share this template with you guys, so you guys can, copy it, clone it, do what you want to do with it, edit it, do, like I said, do what you want to do with it. But the pre-frame is very, very important. As far as establishing the purpose of the call. This is something that we've talked about in the past. Mike has mentioned it numerous times. And, it's overall like probably the most important piece of the call, just because you're kind of establishing the fact like, hey, this is exactly what the call is going to be about. So if you're doing a one call close, this is where you kind of bring into the fact like, hey, by the end of this call, I'm going to give you an opportunity. If it makes sense, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take action on my offer. You can either tell me, yes, you want to get rocking on this. You can tell me B, like, I don't really like this guy. It doesn't really resonate with me. Or you can say C, I need to talk to a spouse or, whatever. But the biggest thing that I want to do here is I want to avoid C and make sure that I can answer every single question that you have to where you can make an A or a B decision. You can tell me yes or no. So this is like one of the most important pieces of the pre-frame is, putting them into a position to where it's like, hey, by the end of this call, I'm expecting a yes or a no. There is no maybe. And if there is a maybe, then I didn't do my job properly and I didn't, make myself clear enough. So we need to go through the questions that you might have so we can get a yes or a no answer. And this is very important in the sales process too, when it comes to the back end of it, just because, like that yes or no answer is ultimately what you want. Like I said at the beginning, it doesn't matter if it is a no, it's about getting that answer. So, that you're clear to move on to the next opportunity. If it's a yes, amazing, get them in your program. If it's not, if it's a no, then no problem at all. You're just on to the next opportunity. So like I said, the pre-frame is very, very important. Another thing that I think is important when it comes to the pre-frame is, basically asking them, like, hey, are you in the proper like state to give me a yes or no decision? Like, are you the person that is going to be making the decision? Do you have a business partner or do you have a spouse that needs to help you make this decision? And pretty much like if that is a yes answer, yes, they do need somebody, with them, or they aren't the decision maker, then you reschedule the call to where both of those people are, available at the same time so you can run through everything, together. So like I said, you're putting yourself into a position to where you're getting that yes or no answer. And we've done this numerous times when it comes to spouses, or business partners, and like we just get straight to the point, like no problem. If you have another person, let's reschedule for tomorrow at the same time, make sure that person's going to be here. Sound good? All right, perfect. Let's rock. Like I said, like the main goal with the pre-frame is just to let this person know, like, hey, I need a yes or no, a yes or no answer by the end of this call. So moving on into, number 3, this is, the question section. This is more so of kind of like the report building, but as far as like, the direct, finding the problems that you have the solutions for. So when it comes to our end, the first thing that we like to do is check out their social media just to kind of see like where they are, where the person is on the other side as far as like a branding standpoint. You guys could even use the same concept to your advantage by checking on their social media, seeing about like family things, and this might allow you to pick out different questions that could help you when it comes to the solutions to the problems that they might have. And another thing that I like about this is it allows us to pull their social media information. So if we're not already connected on Instagram, in our case, it's likely like a sales rep on the other line. So, having them directly connect with that person on Instagram, in my eyes, is important. So that way, if it is a no, then, like we know that we're going to be on, the front face of this person on social media. We're connected in other ways. So it's not the end of the world. And then going into, just kind of questions, how many people do you want to impact in 2022 is a big question for us in the coaching space, because most of us here are driven by impact. That's what we got into this business for. Obviously the money is a great kind of like bonus, but the overall like end goal, in most of our eyes, is impact. We want to help more people transform their lives. We want to help more people experience these same exact transformations that we experience ourselves. And, overall, just kind of like, like having like a list of questions that will allow you to kind of like tailor the conversation to pulling out these pain points, like I said up here at the top. Now, this is something that, like our guys on our end, like they don't go through all of these questions. Like I said, the main goal here is to find like the overall pain point and then continue rocking from there. Now, overall, like when it comes to our situations, all of us here as coaches, one of the biggest things is like translating this question right here, to be something like goal oriented, like how much weight do you want to lose in 2022? You know, like, what are your fitness goals in 2022? You know, do you want to have, you know, like a spouse in 2022, or like, what are you trying to achieve in 2022? Why is this, you know, goal important to you? You know, what's been the biggest struggle in the pursuit of this goal? This is the biggest one right here. Like, Joe, even on your end, as far as like, you know, kind of the NLP space, you know, going into like, hey, you know, like if somebody asks like, you know, how, like I want to, or you ask them like, what is your goal? You're like, man, the guy on the other side is like, man, you know, I want to quit smoking cigarettes. I want to quit chewing tobacco. I want to quit doing this. I want to quit doing this, or I do want to do this. You know, how come you've been struggling? You know, like, how come you haven't been able to do this on your own? What have you tried to accomplish this? So these types of questions are going to essentially give you ammunition for the close, you know, because then you're going to be into a situation to where it's like, hey, you know, you told me that you already were struggling with this in the past. You told me this is a goal that you wanted to achieve, but you know, you already told me that you tried X, Y, and Z to achieve this goal and you still haven't done it. So like, why do you think that, you know, us leaving this call right now without moving forward on my program is going to be any different than the last 6 years that you've been trying to achieve this? So the main goal here, like I said, is really pulling out like these pain points that, you know, the person on the other side is going to have, or has had when it comes to, you know, like I said, achieving the goal. So moving into number 4, it's, you know, specifically the offer. The offer itself is, you know, exactly what it is. You know, it's what are your deliverables as far as the program. Now, one thing I would say about this is you want to make the offer something that is going to be, you know, directly tying into the solutions to the problems that the person on the other side might have. You know, it's directly related towards the vacation that you're taking this person on. Now, keep in mind, like I've talked about this before, as far as like the plane ticket and the vacation theory. You know, people buy the plane ticket to Maui to go on to the vacation of Maui. Is it the plane ticket that's attractive though? The plane ticket is horrible. You know, especially someone here on like me on the East Coast. You know, it's like, man, and I have a small airport, you know, so it's like Savannah to Atlanta, you know, Atlanta to like LA or something, then LA to like, you know, Hawaii. You know, I'm like, you spend so much time traveling. So obviously the plane ticket is the most unattractive part about our offer. So we want to stay completely focused on the vacation that we're going to take these people on. And, you know, if you can think about it just as a very easy example, you know, the fitness space, you know, like the how, you know, the eating healthy, the going to the gym, you know, everybody knows that we should be doing that, but we don't do it because it's not fun, you know, because it's not attractive. It's not something that we want to do. So the biggest thing that I can say here is when it comes into the offer, stay away from the how at all costs and just focus on the end result, the desired outcome that you're going to take that person to. And, you know, with the like, know, and trust, the how isn't going to be a question. If this person on the other side trusts that you're going to be able to take them to the happy place, then they don't give a shit about what the how is. You know, they just know like, okay, Emily's going to, you know, allow me to achieve X, Y, and Z. Boom, I'm in. That's all I need to know. You know, we'll figure out the how on the other side. And if you even think about, you know, like what we talk about a lot with Wake Up Wealthy, you know, it's you know, that's exactly how that program is marketed. You know, it's very much like, you know, you're going to increase your business goals. You know, you're going to hit business goals, you know, through this program. You're going to achieve, you know, large amounts of money through this program. You get inside and it's like all this woo woo shit. And you're like, whoa, what the hell? You know, like, I don't know. This was what I signed up for. But the thing is it works so well because they have so many transformations. They have so much results that the trust on the other side is like, it's concrete. You know, it's like, I know this is going to happen if I do this. And that's ultimately like what you want to create with that, like, know, and trust. So that way, when you go into the offer side of things, it's strictly related to the vacation. I'm going to help you do this. I'm going to help you do this. I'm going to help you do this. And like I said, it's all the solutions to the problems that person said inside of the questions. And this is another reason why, you know, like being niche down is very important, because then you put yourself into a position to where the problems are consistent. You know, you're the person that you're speaking to or you're speaking with on the other side, they're always experiencing the same problems. So you know that you can provide a standardized, you know, solution kit to these people. But cool. So number 5, going into the temp check. this is something that I think is very important, because this will basically put you in a position to where you will know if the person on the other side understands what you've been saying for the last 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So it could be very simple as this, so real quick, before we get into the nitty gritty, on a scale from 1 to 10, where are we right now? 1 being you hate me, 10 being you think this is the perfect solution to your problem. And, like I put here, the goal is to get this to a 10 before you move on into the price drop. Now, like I said, this is going to put you into a position to where if it's like, I'm a 7, then it's like, well, wait, why aren't you a 10? Like, what did you not understand? Like, what can I clear up for you? Did I forget to mention that I'm going to help you do this? Did I forget to mention this? Oh, by the way, did I forget to mention this? So it puts you into a position to where you can get that back up into a 10. And that way, you're in a perfect position to move into the price drop. So like I said, the temp check is very, very important. Specifically, I think right here in this position, in between the offer and the price drop, it's like mandatory, because like I said, it's going to put you into a position to where you can backtrack into, oh, sorry, maybe you didn't understand, like the magnetic method is X, Y, and Z. Maybe you didn't understand that, this is this, this is going to help you with this problem that you told me you've been suffering with for the last 6 years. So the temp check, very, very important. Now, going into the price drop, this is something that like, on our end, like, we have the agreement. Obviously, I honestly recommend that you guys do something similar as far as like creating some sort of agreement, just because it's going to put you into a situation to where it's like, hey, this is, word for word, like kind of like what we're actually going to be helping you with. So, when we go into the price drop on our end, we shoot them over the agreement. And then we basically go into like, hey, option 1 is like this crazy, high ticket price thing. It's not the best thing for you right now, but we do want to get you to that point in the future. So right now, what you can do is you can do this option, which is a fraction of the price, but it's the exact same deliverables. The only difference is instead of us carrying it all out for you, we're gonna work with you hand in hand to get this done. So this is honestly something that you guys can leverage for yourselves too. Think about like the higher net worth like individuals in the world that like focus on like overall like coaching in general. I was just listening to Chris Bosch's book this morning, and he was talking about like how LeBron James, he spends like 1.5 million every single year just on like his health and wellness. Now, obviously, that's probably not a lot of money to somebody like LeBron, but still, I mean, he finds a way to spend 1.5 million on his health and wellness when it comes into, like his overall coaching. So you can even use that to kind of like your leverage as well. Like, hey, there's people out here that like this, like they literally allocate 10% of their income into their health and wellness because they know that this is such a big impact, towards the advancement in their career or the advancement in their business. And like I said, this goes for every single one of you on this call. Health, wealth, and relationships are the 3 biggest things that we can all help with no matter what we are doing. We all can help with all 3 of those things. So if you think about that being valuable to somebody, it's got immense value. And you can, have it into a point to where you guys are even offering like something similar as like a very high ticket package for the people that are qualified. Now, obviously, it's not like the main thing that we're trying to pitch here, but the overall goal here is to have that price anchor, something that's really expensive that, it kind of like has them on the mindset. Like for example, here it says, 25,000 per quarter. The person on the other line is like, what the hell? Like, I don't have 25,000 per quarter, like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not doing that. So that way, when we continue on through the script and we're like, but, we can do the same exact thing for a fraction of the price, $5,000 one-time fee, they're like, oh shit, like that's more of my ball game. Awesome. Perfect. So it's overall that kind of like the price drop from being like, hey, here's something like really high value that we want to get you to, but it's not the right fit. Instead, let's do X, Y, and Z below. So that's overall like the price drop itself. Now I will say like with the price drop, this is kind of like where you come into a situation of, like yes, no's, rebuttals, things like that. One of my favorite like rebuttals is, and this like goes for somebody here like that is very confident in what they're able to provide for the person on the other side. It's like, hey, I understand there's some things to consider, but I know you wouldn't buy a car without test driving it. So I would hate to have you make a decision from the outside without knowing what's on the inside. let's get the agreement handled. And if at any point you decide it's not a good fit, shoot us a text and we'll refund you every penny, no questions asked. Does that sound fair? That's one of my favorite rebuttals, because it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I believe in what we do. I know that you'll be able to get value from what we do. So come on into the inside, see what the community is like, message some people if you want, check out the video modules. If it's not a good fit, no problem at all. Shoot me a text. It's not going to hurt my feelings. So to me, that's like one of the biggest ways that you can get that person through. And obviously, if you're very confident in the transformation that you can provide for that person, it's going to be very, very beneficial for you as well. Now, going into the objections, this is kind of like, something that we're all going to experience when it comes to sales. Now, going back to what I was talking about earlier, there is a point to where like you don't want this to be looked at as every single opportunity. Like I said, it is your duty if this person on the other side says like, hey, this is my problem. And if deep down in your heart that you have the solution to their problem, then it is your duty to put the pressure on them to make the best decision possible. So this is why, handling objections is important, because it is putting yourself into a position to where you're addressing every single thing that you should be to allow that person to make the best possible decision for them. Now, two main objections that pretty much all of us here are going to experience is, number one, I don't have money, or number two, I don't know what I'm getting into. And, going into this temp check, number two should never be an option. If number two is an option, then they lied to you about the temp check. And then you need to, kind of go back into, like the offer and, explain like, whatever needs to be explained there, so they do know what they're actually getting. Now, the biggest thing here when it comes to objections is overall just like recapping on the pain points that they mentioned. Like, hey, you told me that you were having a problem achieving X, Y, and Z. I know I already talked to you about achieving X, Y, and Z. Do you not believe that I'm able to deliver on this? Do you not think that you're able to commit to even achieving this? Like, what's holding you back? Do you not have money? What's the real problem here? So the biggest thing here is, isolating the objection, isolating it, or identifying it, isolating it, and providing the best answer regarding logic. So pretty much like if it's like a money objection, it's like, I don't have the money right now. It's like, no problem. I understand $5,000 is a lot of money. So if it wasn't $5,000, it would be a hell yes, right? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, definitely. So right there, I'm identifying the objection, like, hey, is it the money? And if it is the money, if it wasn't the money, it would still be a yes. If money wasn't involved, it would still be a yes. So identify, isolate it. You're isolating it by saying like, hey, if it wasn't the money, it would still be a hell yes. That's how you know that it is the money objection that's holding you up. And then you can provide the best logic, as far as, that answer, which in a money situation, one of the things that I think can be beneficial for all of us here is like, how close can you get to that number? Then it puts them into a situation where it's like, oh, I can put 4,000 down. Oh, I can put 3,000 down. I can put 500 down. And then you can dictate the deliverables based on what they say that they're able to put down. So say, for example, if it's, if your program is $3,000, they're only able to put in 500, no problem at all. I'll give you access into the video modules. Once you, complete a balance of $1,500, I'll give you access into the community, and, you can chat with us on the live calls. You can interact with us there. So that just kind of puts you into a situation to where you can almost come to a negotiation standpoint without like begging about like what the amount is that you want to get from them. And that's, sorry, go ahead, Alexa.
Do you want me to hold my questions until the end? I have one quick question.
No, go ahead, rip it.
Okay, so in that case, let's say we're just doing one-on-one, we don't have group coaching yet. Is that something that we now need to lock in as far as creating modules for those who can only lay down a deposit like that? Do I need to create some modules?
Now that's a good question. I would kind of like say it both ways. Like, Yes, I would make that a focus, but not without like knowing what your actual like client is going to go through. So if you're in a position to where you've worked with, you know, 5 people one on one, and you've seen like commonalities as far as like what they're experiencing and what they need to overcome, then yes, you would be in a position to make a couple of video modules, you know, maybe 10 modules, 5 to 10 modules, and you know, start it from there. But one thing I would say is, you know, you don't need to worry about like jumping ahead of the game as far as like creating like a video course without knowing like what the person on the other side is actually experiencing. This is
Right.
something that me and Mike did numerous times, where it's like, hey, we know like the market on the other side is experiencing X, Y, and Z, but you know, like we're going to create this course, and without any data or info from the other person, you know, like we're just going to hope that this works, you know. And like obviously, you know, like we're always going to be optimizing like video modules and stuff like that as we are like creating courses and stuff. There's always new information that we can deliver out. But what I'm getting at is more so like you can be way over here as far as what you think that person needs, and what they really need is over here, you know. So to answer that a little bit more direct, I would say if you know, you know, like some like 5 core topics that you can basically cut up into, you know, 10 to 20 video modules, then sure, go ahead and get that done. But I know from also like Joe's experience, I'm pretty sure he experienced the same thing, where it's more so, you know, like I think this is something that's going to be beneficial to somebody on the other side. Let me create 30 video modules, and you know, we'll see what happens as people come through. So from my own experience, I would say, you know, focus on one-on-one until you have a definitive kind of like baseline as far as like what the curriculum is that you can translate into a group offer. Does that make sense?
No, that does make sense. I just want to know if I'm not creating those modules and they can only lay down, let's say 500 and my program is 5K, can do I move forward with them, or do I just put them on pause and not have anything for them to see at the moment? Because I totally agree. And I've almost created a course on what I thought people would want in health and life coaching and didn't get far. And so you guys made a great point, like develop more clients, see exactly a pattern of what people are experiencing, and then create that course. And so now I'm at the point where if they can only lay down a deposit of X, um, do I work with them right then and there, or do I just put them on pause without video modules? Sorry, that's extensive.
No, no, I think it's perfect. And my answer to that would be it's completely up to you. Like in a situation of, you know, like where you're still, you know, you're building like your credibility as far as being a coach, then I would say like rock with it and figure out some kind of terms that you can work with them on as far as like a payment plan, whether it's $500 every 2 weeks or 500 a week or 500 a month, you know, whatever the terms are going to be, you know, as far as like getting that balance paid off. And then also like to that point, you know, you can give them a chunk of the pie, you know, as far as like what they're able to put in. And that's essentially like what I'm kind of like referencing here. Like the chunk of our pie would be the video modules. And then like the community and the one-on-one time and the group calls, like that's all kind of like another like aspect. So in your situation, you know, say it's like 2 group calls a week or 2 one-on-one calls a week, for 3 months, or what, you know, whatever the deliverables are. It's like, okay, cool. You know, like we'll do 2 group calls, you know, or 2 one-on-one calls next week. You know, we'll get the $500 deposit in now. And then, you know, we'll get another $500 deposit in, or $500 payment in the following week, and another 2 calls. And that will kind of give you the space where it's like, if they don't pay or they stop, you know, like, you know, the payments, then you can kind of retract what you're doing. But I would say like in that case, that's probably what I would do, is I would just kind of like negotiate the terms. Like, okay, what do you know, you're able to put down 500. Cool. Can you do that weekly? Can you do it bi-weekly? Like what are you able to do there so we can get the balance paid off? I would say that's probably the easiest way to handle that for sure. But one of the biggest things that I want to highlight here is you should never discount your coaching because somebody can't afford it. If they can't afford it, it is what it is. Like I said, move on to the next opportunity. Like I've been talking about it a couple of times here. You should be very confident that you know what you're worth, and that the price that you're telling them on the other side is what it's worth to be a part of your community, your program. So that's kind of why I go into that, give them a chunk rather than discounting. Because I've noticed like people will do that too, where it's like, hey, it's 1,500, but they said they could only do 500. I'm cool with 500. So if I took 500, they're getting it all. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Mike.
Perfect.
That was helpful.
Cool. Glad. And so going into this, another step like objections, the biggest thing here is, like I said, agreeing with their objection, taking them back into the pain points, the reason why you can help them achieve what they need to achieve, and, go back into the close. So sales, like when it comes to closing, turning the no's to a yes, it's really this cycle. You deliver the pitch, you deliver the close, you handle the objections, you agree, you tie back into the pain, and you go back into the close. And I put this little screenshot right here, just because, like I said, I think that test drive, rebuttal is very, very good as far as like getting the close through, pushing for the deal to go through. But cool. So this is the end of, my bullet points here as far as the steps that you should take as far as, an overall like sales call. Now let's go ahead and dive into some questions. I did take a little bit longer than I wanted to there, but no worries. We still got a little bit of time here. So however you guys want to do it, type them up in the chat, unmute yourself. Doesn't matter to me, but let's dive into some questions about this. And I'm more than happy to go in individually, like, it doesn't have to be questions about the script. It could just be directly, what you're experiencing yourself. But Joe, let's rock.
Yeah. What's up, man? So I mean, dude, what you said towards the end there is certainly something that I've done where like someone's like, oh, like I can't afford that. And I'm like, what can you afford? And then like discount the coaching, just because like, I think as well where I'm at is like, I'm trying to foster the community as well and that group aspect of it and grow that. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, particularly like if my one-on-one time's involved, it's like, it doesn't make sense below a certain price point, right? So yeah, that hit hard, and I appreciate you saying that. I think, so two main questions I have. The first is, one of the things I think I've been struggling with on the calls that I've been hopping on that have been booked from ACE is that framing piece. And like knowing how to really set the frame at the beginning of the call, so that it's not just like, hey, this is a networking call or anything of that nature. So I think the point that you hit there was helpful in that aspect. But that's something that certainly I know I need to get better at and have made a note, is like really just hopping into those calls, building a little rapport on the front end. How are you? Where are you calling in from? X, Y, and Z. And then really setting that hard frame of like, hey, look, this is what this call is going to be. I'm going to run you through, ask you some questions. If it makes sense, I'm going to run you through what our offer is. And then we'll move forward from there, in one of three directions, as you put it. But yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that like is just framing that call up on the front end that I've been struggling with.
Yeah, for sure. And to that point, as far as the pre-frame, like we actually like kind of call it out, so it's like, from it, like it's literally word for word, like from a business perspective, I don't care if you sign up or not. Obviously I care about you as a person, but financially it's simply a numbers game for us. X amount of people will sign up and X won't, right? I tell you that just because, so this call is for you and I truly want to help. So that like positions you into a position where it's like, yeah, I'm so glad that we got connected here and we are on this call, but like realize like I want to take this another step. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Cool. And then the other thing that I've been thinking about, and this is something that I kind of want to chat with you on our call about as well and go in a little more depth. I know this is something that like you had mentioned before. I think the only reason I didn't really pay attention to it was because, like, truthfully, I hadn't come across a prospect who was qualified for it. Long story short, I closed a guy last Friday that just came over via a referral. And like, he's got cash, right? Like, he's got the capital to spend and is like, has done really well in his career, but has other areas that I'm helping him out with, right? And so like, dude, this was like the easiest. Like, I was like, yeah, so the program's, for the one-on-one, what we have is $3,000. And he was like, perfect. Like, How do I pay? Like, it was like crazy, you know, and especially like working with people who are like, hey, I don't have any money, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, you know, an idea that I've been playing with, having him in the community, and I know that he's committed to his growth, is, you know, potentially offering him at the end of our program, like a year-long one-on-one investment, and potentially even like baking something in there of like, hey, I'll even like come out to you. You know, he's out in Charlotte. Like, I'll come out to you 2 times over these next 12 months for like a full day intensive. We'll do some deep NLP work. We'll do some transformational work. You know, he's working on his social life as well. So like, you know, potentially I'll come out and we'll meet some new people and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's something that I'm thinking about. Obviously, I'm still focused on obviously working with him over the next 5 to 6 weeks and getting him what he needs and getting him into our community. It's just something that like I realized could be offered, and I kind of want to build out. So we can talk a little bit more, you know, on our call, but I'd love to hear your thoughts now, and, you know, hopefully it'd be beneficial to anyone else in the group if they're thinking of doing like that longer kind of higher ticket, you know, intensive year-long coaching and offering that, and how that would be structured.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even like thinking about it, like, you know, on our standpoint, like obviously the group and stuff is like what we really want to do just because it's the best like use of our time. But there's people, like you said, on the other time that don't give a shit about that. Like they're like, I need you, and I need like a lot of you, you know? So,
Right.
so the biggest thing like that I can say here is like, this kind of goes into like an ABC situation. In this situation, it would be more of like an A and B, where it's like, hey, I have like this group coaching program, which is like really option B, but it sounds like you're more ready for like option A. Like you want to do like big shit, you know? So I would say like 100%, like you should open yourself up to that, especially like anybody here on this call as well. You know, and that's one thing that a group coaching offer will allow you to do is like, if your group coaching offer is, you know, $5,000 one time for a 90-day program, then, you know, how, like, why wouldn't somebody pay like, you know, $12,000 for, you know, kind of like a one-on-one thing, or $25,000 for a one-on-one thing over the course of a year? Like you said,
Right.
Joe, like I'll fly out to you and like I'll stay in your house, you know, like twice a week. And like, I'll wake you up in the morning and shit, we'll go work out, like pull some David Goggins shit, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, like I think something like that could be really valuable, but, you know, exactly to that point, you know, you know, having like some sort of group offer as your base will allow you to get the money that you really need to do one-on-one, to allow that person to have one-on-one time with you. So yeah, I would say like definitely like, you know, create something like that for those people that are a little bit more like locked into, you know, a little bit more in-depth time. Like for example, like one of our guys was on a sales call with somebody yesterday, and she was like, yeah, I'm doing over $100,000 a quarter, you know, like I'm not trying to do this shit by myself, you know, like how much can I pay you guys to do this? And we're like, all right, well, this is the option. It's 25,000 a quarter. We'll run everything, you know? Right, she's like, okay, right. You know? So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, to your point, the people on the other side that do rock with it, they will, you know, they will commit, they see the value, but do rock with it, they will, you know, they will commit, they see the value, but you know, it's one of those situations where it's not a one size fits all. It's like, you're more of an A-level person. Let's get you here. You know, you're not this B-level person, you know, which it's no offense to the B-level people. It just is what it is, like, as far as like how you can impact people. So yeah, to everybody here on this call, I definitely agree. Like, you should definitely, you know, think about the same situations for yourself. You know, obviously, you know, the goal is to impact more people with less of your time through a group coaching offer. But if you can allow yourself to do one-on-one, then do it, and do it at a high level, you know?
Yeah, man. And that was all super insightful, because it also got me thinking too, like kind of, you know, how Brody and how they run Wake Up Wealthy. It's like, I really, as this community grows, like really keeping it at a group offer. And it's like, hey, this is what the group is. You're still going to get some one-on-one time with me. You know, we'll do 3 to 4 check-in calls throughout the 90 days where we'll hop on to 30 to 45 minutes. If you feel like you need a breakthrough NLP session, like we'll run a couple of those. However, between the online course, which I'm going to continue to update and optimize, and, you know, the group and the community and tapping into that, like, you should be able to get everything you need. And then it's like, again, with those A-level clients, with those prospects who are qualified, I mean, it's just a completely different conversation, because it's like, hey, I'm committed. He's committed to doing it. He's committed to doing the work, and the finances aren't really a concern for him, where he's like, yeah, like 10K for a year-long program, like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like that makes sense. So yeah, cool, man. That's super helpful, and I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, to that point, like, you know, I really don't even think that it has to be like any sort of like crazy deliverables. It might just be another level of it, you know, like you were saying, you know, instead of it just being group, you know, I'll come out to you, I'll fly out to you, and like, we'll chop it up. I'll live a day in your life and optimize your day. Like, you know, we'll figure out like some real shit, you know, see how your family's doing and, you know, shit like that. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of power in that. And to that point, it's the same reason that Jesse Itzler paid David Goggins to do it, you know? David was like, dude, you're fucking nuts if you want me to do this, but yeah, I'm in, you know, like, So, you know, it's that same concept, but yeah, no, I think there's a lot of value in that. I like that a lot.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else for now that you want to jam on?
No, I think that was it. I mean, cool. I don't know, man. It feels like things are starting to really come together for me, and it's exciting. It's allowing me to, you know, invest more into the business and take some more money back for myself. So yeah, I mean, and this is all stuff that I want to talk with you about personally, kind of like the entrepreneurial's growth and journey. And I know you and Mike have been through it. But no, man, it's all super exciting. We're starting to get a lot of calls booked. I'm super confident that this market of fitness professionals is the winning market. So it's all just a matter of doubling down and continuing to optimize. And, you know, I'm doing more stuff within my program to optimize that, and, you know, more assets and all that stuff, and make it more of a, you know, group and community based and all that. So no, man, everything's good. And I'm excited to chat a little more and, you know, one-on-one in like 30 minutes or so.
Cool. Sounds good. Yes, sir. Likewise. Well, that's cool. Let's roll it on with the rest of the group here. If you guys have any questions, Alexa, Cynthia, Rashid, Roxanne, feel free to chime in. Rashid, I did see a remark about the Notion notes. I'm about to drop a link in here right now. Cool. Any other questions? Sure. There's nothing. Alexa, Cynthia, Rashid, Roxanne. Nothing. No questions about anything sales related or anything related.
No, I'm good. Thanks, Mike.
Beautiful. Well, cool. If that's the case, then we nailed it right on the head as far as the time here. Let's have a great Friday. Everybody enjoy some time off this weekend, and we'll catch up on Monday. Thank you so much for hopping in, and adios, everybody.